memoir of sorts. But the other interesting thing, I was reading the papers the other day, is that you were in Aspen, Colorado, part of a anti-war demonstration. And I want to talk a little bit about that.
That's on Saturday, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me why you oppose the war against Iraq.
Well, it seems like not just dangerous, but insanely dangerous for us, for me. I don't even think it's our war. I think it's Mr. Bush's war. Like they used to say about the Civil War. That's Mr. Lincoln's war. And it just seems incredibly stupid to go off. Here's a man who has taken the country in 2 years from a prosperous nation at peace to a broken nation in a war. Now, that's kind of hard to vote for, it would seem, but people keep voting for it. That's what baffles me about the American people now.
You said it appears our nation is having a national nervous breakdown.
That's what I recognize it as.
Explain that.
Oh, God. Explain. Well, it seems, I think in a nervous breakdown, I believe you kind of seize up and go sideways, more or less paralyzed. We don't want to get into psychiatric research here, but that's how it seems. The utter torpor of the American people in voting for a person who makes them broke, takes away their education, their libraries, and catch me. Catch me if I seem to be wrong with these things. But I live out in the mountains and the woods, and that's what it seems to me. And I've done this for a long time. I've covered a lot of elections and seen a lot of politicians, but I've disagreed with a lot of them. But I haven't been appalled. Nixon, he was fun compared to Bush. He was a liberal.
Nixon was a liberal.
Compared to Bush.
When you look at Saddam Hussein, do you see any evil? Do you have any fear? Do you think that he is a threat? Do you think he has chemical and biological weapons?
Well, I wouldn't invite him up to my house. But I think we have to look at this, the fact that everything we know about Saddam, we know through the CIA, or through information vetted and filtered by the CIA. The only first-hand account I have of Iraq is through Sean Penn, my friend, who went there to just see it for himself. And yeah, I'd like to do that as a journalist. And this is a war that we're going to be bogged down in for, oh boy, a generation. And it's going to, the budget deficit, the financial pit we're getting into, to do this, to just go over there and bomb people back to the Stone Age. Well, that's Curtis LeMay, I think, isn't it? Remember Curtis LeMay?
He was George Wallace's running mate in 1968.
Yeah.
But after September 11th, do you not think Americans looked at the world differently and are concerned that Saddam Hussein could, in fact, attempt to deliver biological or chemical weapons upon America or give them to Al-Qaeda or another terrorist group, and the president wants to remove that threat before it strikes our own shores?
Well, certainly we look at it differently. It's hard to ignore that kind of thing downtown at the World Trade Center, but I don't know that we've ever linked Osama bin Laden or Saddam to the disaster down here. And you couldn't take this case to court in an American courtroom and win. It's speculation. It's I don't even know if there's circumstantial evidence, is there? Or do you know?
Well, Colin Powell's case that he laid out at the United Nations, 2/3 of the American people believe that it made the case.
Yeah, and that was the situation with the State of the Union, I think.
With the what?
State of the Union?
Very much.
2 out of 3, you know.
Yeah, very much. Do you think Al Gore, if he happened to be president, would be handling this situation differently?
Oh, I think questionably differently. He is, what we have here is a very tight, very organized, very tunnel-visioned bunch of people in the White House. And what I'm curious about from time to time, and more, is that who's in charge here in the White House? Now, Karl Rove or Cheney, or it's hard for me to believe that this president is really in charge, just as a leader. I don't know. I just wonder who's in charge.
Overwhelmingly, the American people give George Bush very high marks for leadership. And the irony they point to is that Colin Powell, who had been the one most skeptical about war with Iraq, is now the one who is making the case and is probably the most effective messenger the administration could have.
Yeah, it is his conversion is, well, I never had that kind of faith in Powell, but he is a smart, intelligent guy, and like the other generals. Hell, Norman Schwarzkopf came out against the war. One of the ex-chief of staff, I can't remember his name. Oh, there's a lot of, I can't think of a general who really supports this war, and, well, except by default. You know, it's sort of, well, when we get in a war, we must pull together. You know, I'm as patriotic as I've ever, as anybody, maybe more. I don't want to go with that, but I have a long history of writing about this country, and I do, care what happens to it. And what is happening now looks to me like dangerously wrong.
We're going to take a quick break. We're talking to Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. His new book is Kingdom of Fear.